Okay, let me start that over because I keep missing the very beginning and I love the very beginning. So here we go. Uh, Sounds like an airplane or. There it is. Okay. Okay. So welcome into Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon, or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as. It doesn't matter. I come on here all the time and say, in a good way, I don't care. I've been called everything under the sun, and I don't exactly know what references have meant. Even squirrel came up, and don't know what it means, although I read somewhere that a certain group in Hollywood might call people squirrels, and I don't know what that is. So anyway, what I really wanted to talk about today on this one video each day, 365-day campaign video, and today, of course, would be day 68 on March 9th, 2023, is something that has to do with feeling stalked by Satan or something invisible in the air. I'll preface that by reiterating, as I do every day, that in 2011, something very major and life-altering kicked off. I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment by what I believed to be, and I'm pretty certain was, a series of orchestrated events. Leading up to that evening, I had a conversation with my sister, and the news of the day, and at the end of 2010 or into the beginning of 2011, was that a guy, I think his name was John Wheeler, his last name was Wheeler. He worked for the Pentagon. He was from Delaware, and they had all these video cameras of him like doing weird things in a parking garage, like taking off his shoes, acting strangely, and then he would go missing, I guess, for like 48-ish hours. They would find him in the Cherry landfill, not to be confused with the Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I don't even know if they have a landfill, but there's a Cherry landfill that's part of Delaware. I don't know if it's near the Port of Wilmington or similar, but that would be my guess because I grew up in Delaware. And in the Cherry landfill, and of course it's cherry, sort of like cherry cordial, or everybody has a connotation with cherry, I guess, could be kind of gross-ish, and in the female realm, like popping a cherry or whatever. But he was found in there, and in the cherry landfill would be appliances, anything that would ruin the environment. So, like, if you were a very strict environmentalist, you wouldn't love that very robotic things just keep being created and created. This is something that came up for me. Like, I was kind of wondering, like, what the dealio was. He wasn't in a landfill where you would find normal trash or compost even, or what have you, anything biodegradable, nothing biodegradable. And I read up on John Wheeler. I think his name was John. I'm not positive. Sorry about that. But he is in the book that I wrote, Duplicity and Duress, just because it fed the fear that I would experience. And the death threat, if you will. And he was on the board for people who were proponents for, say, cochlear implants, which it's almost like a miracle ear or a thing where to aid someone's hearing, or if someone was actually born hard of hearing or deaf or what have you, maybe they would have better technology to help those people hear. How do people hear? So this has come to be a very serious issue because people are born with normal hearing, but what if people can hear at an even higher level? And a cell phone would be like the bridge between landline phones and people who almost could hear without these. Like, say you could call up your friend, just call, hey mom, you down there, in Florida or what have you, and you're in Philadelphia, and you just talk without using a phone. So I'm wondering if the cochlear implant was technology to figure out, like an artificial way to figure out how people could know people's business without seemingly planting bugs or microphones in people's homes or apartments or what have you. So anyway, all that aside, just wanted to say, that there's an artificial world that might have been trying to be developed for many years to master the natural abilities of people who have been preserved over centuries. So say it was very natural for Mozart or Beethoven over in Austria or wherever they were in Eastern Europe or similar, to what do I want to say? Like, how did they get their music found out? Or why did they become so famous in their world? Maybe they could communicate in a way that would seem like ancient alien-ish, but it's really a natural thing that had to be preserved for some people, while the rest of the world, I don't know. We won't get into that topic. That's a whole other topic that came up, because part of my experience has been feeling stalked in ways that can seem supernatural, not just by the fact that people out here would show that they seem to know my personal business. And I would wonder how or why, because my apartment was so small. I really don't think there were actual bugs or microphones. That gets into the realm of seeming too paranoid to actually call someone in. I didn't have any money to call people in. Can you sweep my apartment for bugs? I mean, it gets worse because there might be people out here doing the bidding for people and they don't know why they were supposed to wear a certain t-shirt. And it could be that someone really high up who's very stalkerish and creepy and bad in nature sent a message down. We'll just give the example of a sorority at a university. They're going through like a special hazing or initiation process. And the head of the sorority knows that she's supposed to tell all the girls or young ladies, students or whatever, wear pink today, wear your cancer shirt today, wear your breast cancer. Our platform is we help people with breast cancer. Everybody wear their breast cancer t-shirt today and make sure you're outside, do your runs, if you're a runner, run with that shirt. If you're, but say that breast cancer t-shirt actually fed into someone's scare tactic for some reason that day, meaning someone was being intimidated with breast cancer. Say that's a thing. And that person's wondering why everything in the universe is breast cancer after they just got a diagnosis or something. It seems like too much and overly coincidental. So it could come down the line. So somebody who's preserved in the hearing land, just humor me for a second because I know this sounds, like ridiculous to people who are normal. Say someone trickles all that information down to the level of people, all these minions, if you will wear their t-shirts, and it turns out it's actually used against a target and other people would have no idea. They would be innocent of that fact of knowing that this is intimidating someone. So anyway, but more interestingly is that say you're walking around the city and you've been tortured for a while and you're walking, say you're walking a dog that humps you all the time and you desperately need work. So that plays into sort of like an idea of someone who was maybe inappropriate or a little bit overbearing in the weight category. A heavyweight came in, wanted to hump you basically, and you're trying to figure out like how to wiggle out of that one. Then you have a dog who's grabbing onto your leg, who's like 180 pounds, humping you, and you're 5'2", and I don't know how heavy I am, but we'll just go with like 130 or something, 135 or what have you. And in addition, say there are all kinds of trucks driving around with certain messaging. So we'll go with, okay, there's a truck that drives around. It says A.DUIE and then PYLE. So it looks like a Dewey pile but at some point that one became a little funny because it was like a DUI pile. So who in the universe knows that somebody has a pile of DUIs that's stacked up? You see what I mean? And say you knew someone named Elizabeth and the E stood for Elizabeth, a DUI Elizabeth, a pile on Elizabeth for DUI. Like it could get that bad, or trucks can even seem like they're moving in slow motion and it's like they're stalking-ish. So even buses with Lundy Law, slip or fall, around here. Haven't seen them as much, but who have we seen? John Morgan. Morgan and Morgan is a nationwide law firm. They're in many states. I actually learned about them in Florida. I didn't know they were here. I come back here, I see this guy's face all over the place. I was like, how do you wind up in Philadelphia? That's stalking by proxy. I lived in Philadelphia for many years, never knew Morgan & Morgan was here. And they're using John because it's a word that Philadelphia developed, Jawn. John could be used as a noun in any sentence. I'm going to make my cake John, or it's in that realm. I guess it could be used as a descriptor or a noun, whatever. It's basically a word you can insert for anything. I have a hat John, or this is my John, or, so I come back here, and that's basically a perfect example of stalking by proxy. Even if the guy is technically good, his company is stalking by profit. By profit. Whoops, Freudian slip. So by proxy. Also, USPS, it says, we deliver for you. So some people might keep reading these, or they're fed this information. We deliver for you. It could feed the Drug Enforcement Agency. It could feed people who are on the street, and they take it as a signal like, oh, somebody's got some good stuff. UPS are they synchronizing the world of e-commerce, or synchronizing the world of commerce? So everything's synchronized. So you get home and the UPS guy, like, oh my God, what great timing. It could be that bad. What is FedEx? World on time. Another thing, everything's on time, everything's prompt. But it could be magnified into another realm of like all these, those are easy ones, they aren't that bad, but other trucks, like there used to be a truck that would say, trust the process. And what if the process is to force you into homelessness? I'm not going to trust that. Are you kidding? But what if that message kept being fed to people? Trust the process. This is a process. This is a process. While I gain over here, you're going down over there. You see what I mean? Like, how do you know whether to trust the process? How much control do you have? It takes the control away from people. So thank you. It takes the control away from someone. Trust the process. We have everything under control while you're running around on someone else's ride, feeling like, you feel like a puppet, or you just feel like other people are totally in control of your entire experience. And you're like, wait, I need to have control here. How do I get control or escape this trap? Another one would be unfi. Maybe someone high up in CIA land, I have no idea, would see that and be like, oh, I have to get off the laptop right quick. Unfi right now. Or nature land. A lot of nature people who are raw vegan foodies or what have you, they will know they need to be off Wi-Fi because the information will harm a fully natural and real person. And the TV or Wi-Fi or what have you transmits information even in mysterious ways, I think. So it could be a thing of, we don't want the information coming through our body or our mind or our eyes or our highly sensitive ears. Or what's the other one? Well, there's a million, like everybody has a logo, everybody has a thing, and it could seem like that movie Ghostbusters, when it's like certain trucks will come in to do the job, they seem like regular contractors, but really their job is to do something else, and the messaging is all over the trucks. That would be like an easy way to look at it. Or the movie Obey, where they have they, and that guy puts on those lenses, and every time he reads a billboard, it reads out differently than what asleep people would see. So they would say like woke or awakened people would totally read that message in a different way. Or they would know when they look at a magazine stand that it's evil, all these models, and really they're, reptilians trying to get your money one way or the other. So it's really hard to explain, but the messaging could be done in such a way that you feel creeped and stalked constantly. Or it could be done in a way where they'll add in a little bit of funniness or humor. So it's like, oh, that was funny. But what if it's like the smiley face gang, an old school known gang of serial killers, who will make it seem like they're super nice, like happy dog or whatever, but really they're out for blood. That's how bad it can get. I don't know why it's done. I try to keep on blinders when I walk around the city, but in a way, I was triggered into like a thing of like, I'm seeing too much, reading too much, but it was like forced, if you will. It's hard to explain. So what if your whole world as a more alert, hypervigilant, or woke person, as and that's what some people call it. I don't know what to say. I was tortured, and this in the end, after 7 years of being tortured, it like I will see things. Like right now I have a Faye with a FAGE yogurt, and all I can see because the tub is turned on my counter, I see GE. So immediately I'm thinking of GE. I already have associations because I was a writer and I did a lot of work in regards to researching and stuff like that. But GE would be one of the seven dwarfs, right, of the Snow White complex. You can look it up. That's a conspiracy-ish, but it's the idea that Disney, at large conglomerates or entities, merge together and they own the universe. And people would know this. If you're a protester, you already know it. If you're somebody who was sort of anti typical man, if you will, like someone who couldn't fit into the corporate world, you would try to figure out why. But large entities, so the seven dwarfs of, and I kind of forget, it's the Snow White conspiracy. GE would be one of those groups. So now I see Faye yogurt as being part under the umbrella of General Electric. So it's like that, and I'm sure it's done in the car industry and all of that. So like Saturn could look like Sat and Earn. That company went out of business, but my aunt had a Saturn car, and she probably liked it because it was unique and different. And we'll get one of these because it's totally progressive seeming. But it could look like Sat and Earn, and see how that fits under the Death Junkie umbrella. And she wouldn't have known that. Unless there's, everybody has to be a little bit badass and they think they're part of a special superior group. I don't know if that's true. But in my aunt's case, I'm just giving an example, but it could seem that way. There's another one. But anyway, if you start to know your makes and models of cars, it'll have, in my case, it's like Tesla. Everybody loves Tesla if you're like liberal-ish. It's a hybrid car, I guess. Who doesn't love Grimes and her husband? Elon Musk, sorry. And if you're liberal-ish or loving that kind of music. But when Tesla's back up, what do they sound like? Ooh, like a ghost. How bad can it get? I'm so not kidding. I forgot about that. So, but all of this could feed into someone's reading of the streets, if you will. I could go on, but in my case, there were so many days of me feeling constantly stalked by evil, and I didn't grow up with religion. So this would be like, are you kidding? Somebody decided to show me evil, and there's like a million highly religious people out there who would kind of want to know what it looks like. Probably not, but I don't know why. I don't know why I wound up in this situation. But it is bizarre. I would like to be compensated for it. I do live a very boring, I have family down in Delaware. They have their own lives and everything, but it's not like I got married, have my own kids. In that way, I don't have a life. You see what I mean? So I sort of wound up on this other journey trying to come out from a feeling of oppression, then wound up being slammed in 2011, and people play games all over the place. And I'm like, whoa. I'll be walking dogs and that John Morgan bus will just keep creeping around every street. And many buses have that sign. So it's like, there goes that John Morgan bus again. And they creep around here, then they creep around there. And that is what it can feel like. And I've actually called Morgan & Morgan and felt very abused by the call center lawyer or whoever was taking sort of a question, not just a questionnaire. They were trying to delve into my concerns about how I was handled through a government agency in terms of trying to find supplemental income. And he felt abusive to me. And everybody has to feel like superior and important. And that actually does them wrong in the end. I was just like, are you kidding? This sounds like someone who has to be better, double, triple snap, that kind of attitude. But he wasn't. If someone's calling into law office, they're usually feeling victimized. That would be my guess. So people who call in actually take the step of calling in need to be handled carefully. And dare I say, kid's glove. It sounds so condescending to say kids glovingly. Um, but people who are hurt or harmed need to be handled in a warm, sincere way, in a supportive, validating way. Called into Morgan as one of the many places I called into to see if there was any recourse for some of the experiences that I've experienced present day. Back in 2011, I couldn't figure out. I called a few people. Everything was closed doors. Everyone pretended they didn't know anything about community mobbing or this, that, and the other. I wasn't on the agenda plate, there. So everybody has an agenda, and if you don't fit what they're going for during that time period, during that political time period, dare I say, then you are chop liver. So I've always been chop liver. You can tell by my views. So, but I will wind it up there. It's a really hard thing to explain, and somehow I went way off over here to talk about hypervigilant hearing or high levels of hearing, and then they have hearings in the court system. And I'm wondering, what people hear there. Or it's like Santa Claus. Some people, they know when you've been naughty and you've been nice, and you're wondering, how would they know that? That's my private business. How do they know I slept with someone? Of course, that would be, it could go word of mouth, but still, you see what I mean? What if the idea of Santa Claus were a little bit more real than people thought? And if they just didn't have that iconography of some guy with a white beard and in this god awful red outfit, But anyway, I will wrap it up there. I'm seeking donors to help me actually just have a basic life and not have to worry. I would be willing to work in a very safe small environment with people who know this exists. And I have felt stalked for a long time. It is like trying to outrun evil or Satan, I guess, or whatever creepy, gross people can stalk in a mysterious way. And it's like, I don't want to wind up like some story in Delaware, like Anne Marie Fahey or John Wheeler. We even have a store down here called Faherty, where Kenneth Cole or Cole Haan used to be. My last name is Cole. Now it says Faherty. Now, if you put the T in, it could look like Father Y, or it starts to get weird. I could make a million connections because Anne Marie Fahey was murdered by Thomas Capano in Delaware many, many years ago. My dad and step family wound up in a development, and the builders were Capano builders. It was the same family. So those houses were built by the Capano family or brothers. And Thomas Capano was a killer and killed a mistress, I guess, that he had. And there was a certain group of, there was a politician, was it Carper or Carpenter? I forget his name. And conspiracy theorists would wonder if he gained off of that incident. So his career went up because he had to handle that situation. So it gets into that realm, and that can feel stalkerish because my last name is Cole. I even wound up with a Cole Haan jacket conveniently. I felt compelled to go into TJ Maxx to get a cheap winter coat. I needed a new winter coat, and one that was standing out happened to fit perfectly, and it was the right price, and it was a Cole Haan. And I was like, should I just go with it today? Because I don't want to spend more money. It was like $39, $39.99. That's what I mean. So the perfect things hanging off on the shelf saying, hey, take me, you're Sharon Cole, take the Cole Haan. So anyway, that's it. And also Cole was used as a name for Jews who assimilated, who wanted to assimilate or blend more into society over here during World War II. Kenneth Cole's grandfather, he wrote about this in a book called The Stars of David. His grandfather or great-grandfather or someone along the line erased the lowercase hump of the H and got rid of the N, and you can quickly transform Cohen into Cole. So it was a way to sort of hide in a world where Coles, I guess, seemed more normal. I don't know. So technically, he comes from a Jewish lineage, if you will, or bloodline or what have you. I think we are the basic Coles. There's nothing overly special about that. I think we basically have roots in Scotland, Englandish, so forth and so on. Who knows? Everybody's been here for so long that nobody's really traced it that heavily, except for one woman from where my dad grew up. And she has the Frances Huber genealogy book, and that's where we're listed, but there's a lot of errors. So all the natural born children of the call of my dad's people, his brother, they had kids, and he does have a sister. She did not have kids, but the natural born kids, the information is incorrect. So I sent in for an addendum, but somebody said, well, what if somebody was trying to like hide your information so that people wouldn't know who you were? I don't know. But all the information was incorrect enough to make it look like I had a different mom because of a divorce. And it's like, no, I was born in 70, not 73. That's a big deal. So, okay, that's it. Have a great day. And seeking donors, big and tall, short and small. I'll take anything. Thank you so much. I would love to have a life, a quiet, peaceful life with quiet, peaceful people who don't play a stalker game. Thank you.